Is it easier to be a creative person in Preston, Lancashire, or in New York City? Can't live off tenacity is a line borrowed from a street poet I met in Brooklyn when talking about aspiring creatives existing in the current global climate. It's July 2016. My name's Alan and I'm a filmmaker. I've been graciously shipped over to New York by the University of Central Lancashire and tasked with exploring what the film and writing culture is like over here. New York has so many cinematic landmarks and iconic buildings, but what I'm really interested in are the people living here and how they make ends meet whilst producing the work most meaningful to them. So my first objective was to find a creative community I could meet up with so I could talk to them about their work. And after exploring the neighbourhood I was staying in, I found out there was a play going on that night, organised by a grassroots theatre company, and I managed to get myself invited along to it.
It's called This Play Is Not About Sex, and it's about gender roles, gender equality, violence, all those kind of things. And it's set up by a fairly kind of independent local kind of theatre company, and it's free to go to. And I think the idea is that they just want a conversation about, you know, gender roles, and they want to start a discussion. I think that's the main thing.
The play was this great collection of monologues showing various perspectives and made for a really eclectic view. After the show, I got to talk to actors Jesse and Katja, who do a lot of work with this group. I wanted to know what their day-to-day experience was like as actors living in New York.
As a creative person living in New York City with not a full-time job, personally, and
there's no way. As an actor, you can't have a full-time
end
job.
Result that is clear, but that's kind of the beauty of it, and kind of why I'm in it in the first place is because there's no answers, it's all questions, and that to me is more important. And I think even now we're both turned 25, she's about to turn 25, but that's kind of like a pivotal moment in your 20s where you're like, where am I headed? Where's this going? Do I need a full-time job? Do I want to make money and have children or all this stuff? And it's scary, but it's the choice you make, and it's not a wrong choice or a bad choice to choose the latter. I just think it's a choice you make.
The play was produced by an organisation called The Collective Sex, and I was fascinated to find out what motivated them to put on the work that they did. I caught up with producer and founder Poppy to get an insight into her work and philosophies.
Like for me, art is always political. It's always in response to the times that are right now, whether it's a rejection of them, or it's a reinterpretation, or it's like in response to, it's always situated in like time, place, context. And it has this really beautiful ability for us to question the things that we have taken for granted as norms.
I could really tell that Poppy's ideologies empowered her to keep producing work. Communities like this really motivate each other to keep going.
In order to feel like you're living your dream, you have to do so much more preparation than you thought. And the preparation looks like getting people in a room together, having them on a specific like story or theme or topic or something that you care about. And then like when it's happening, those are the times that I'm like, I'm living the dream. I am with these people in this room. I have a camera, they're giving me my time. I'm an artist, I'm working, things are flowing, blah, blah, blah. And it like feels so great for that time. And then you like, suddenly you're outside and then you're on the subway and then you're like waiting 3 hours for a train and you're like, oh, why am I not famous? And it just goes between, you know, but I feel like it's not about that. Those moments are just triggers. They're just like, you have to constantly be reminding yourself that your dream isn't actually that. Your dream is to be constantly doing exciting work, and that is the dream. And so if you can build your life around that, like around doing what excites you, then it's always living the dream.
We got large pies, family-sized pies. We got pizza, drink up, and calzone.
How Poppy had built a community of storytellers was an inspiration, and it got me thinking about how you would launch yourself as a filmmaker in New York. The next day I went into Little Italy to follow the trail of one of the most influential film directors for me, Martin Scorsese.
I found like a blog where like they mapped all of the locations of, or all the big locations of about 6 of Martin Scorsese's first films, and they're all over like New York.
I decided to focus on Scorsese's breakthrough film Mean Streets to try and get into his mindset when embarking on his most personal production. I started at the Volpa Bar, which now looks like this.
Volpa bar scenes in like Main Street was kind of like the backbone of the entire film, so like everything felt like it happened within this, and then Harvey Keitel would like spring off to do something else and then come back and then spring off again, do that and all that kind of stuff.
If the Volpa Bar was the place in the film where tension was sparked, I wanted to find Scorsese's safe space in the film, which takes a spiritual form in St. Patrick's Old Cathedral on Mulberry Street. These places were what Scorsese knew best, and he found a way of using them to tell his stories. It's amazing to think from what he created in these locations, his career was launched. The next day I headed over to Queens to have a look at the Museum of Moving Image. This place was incredible. They had the most amazing exhibits from some absolutely huge films. The museum was laid out in roughly the same order as the process of a film being made, so it started with concept designs and scripting, moved on to costume and location, and then had sections on post-production and merchandising too. Scorsese had also made his way inside. Something that really grabbed my attention was the concept design for The Silence of the Lambs. You could really follow the path of inspiration from the initial ideas and resources through to location sketches and a model version of the prison corridor. There's something humbling about seeing some of the most iconic moments in film history being born from simple ideas that we can all have and brought to life in this way. Reliving all these groundbreaking films and seeing their origins was so profound. 50 years ago, Martin Scorsese was just another artist juggling jobs in his creativity, just like Katya or Jesse. How far are any of our ideas away from this? Am I going to be back here in 20 years and see Jesse's picture on the wall? And if so, is it his tenacity that will have put him there? Whilst churning this all over on my way back from the museum, I found maybe my favourite example of the aspiring writer working his craft in the most innovative way. Lynn was creating poetry on the spot whilst you wait and trading it for donations. I had to ask if this vocation was a viable means of earning a living.
You make a lot less here being an artist than even you make in Chicago. And in terms of that, you still make less than what you make in San Francisco, but the problem is you can never make enough because the rent is so expensive.
So do you think the reason why it's harder now than it used to be is a cost of living thing? The cost of living's changed and gone up? Or?
I think that the cost of living is definitely it, but also as far as that goes, I think that the cost of living goes up in terms of the sort of practice that we've had with banking. And the fact that no one actually has any sort of financial stability as far as it goes.
Despite Lynn's crushing words about financial instability, he didn't appear regretful of his life choices. Something kept him going. I came away with a feeling that Lynn was happy. The feeling brought me back to something Katya had said earlier.
Half the time I wake up and it's like, I have the amazing gift. I'm like so grateful that my gift is that I get to choose what I want to do. And the other days I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know what I'm doing. It's like you teeter between those two.
Yeah.
This knife-edge lifestyle seems to be part and parcel of the creative's existence, and sometimes it feels hopeless. The poem Lynn wrote for me definitely reflects that. But despite that, I leave New York optimistic and with a new determination. I know I can't live off tenacity, but I can see how far it'll take me, and for now, that's enough.